Chemist Confessions podcast.
Consistency! Woo!
We were just a couple days late on the previous episode, but we got you this time. So welcome back to the podcast. This is a very human conversation about all the skincare science we share over a few drinks.
Yes, so what are we drinking today, Victoria?
Well, today it's raining.
Yes, very sad.
So we're into hot drinks. And I have my second cup of coffee with some whiskey. So we're doing Irish coffee today.
Nice. I have tea with some lemonade.
Oh, hit me.
And 2 shots of tequila in here. It's delicious.
I don't know. I feel like the go-to liquor defines a person.
Oh, I think that might work better than horoscopes.
I agree with that. All right, cool. So today is episode 19. What the hell are we talking about today, Gloria?
Today, I'm gonna be mute. It's the Victoria show. Because today is all about acne.
Yeah, this is way overdue. Yeah. I think we always are a little bit lazy to get into acne just because it's always a can of worms and very complex. But we want to keep it straightforward, simple, really do it, make sure it's a lot more product oriented, just to make it all simplified.
So why we just talking about having no product references? You're like, it's about products today.
Right.
So for those of you new to our podcast, again, like Victoria said, it's an open conversation about all things skincare. Even though we have a main topic, which is acne this week, we go over news around skincare. We also share funny animal facts, and we always we try to answer some questions you guys may have at the end. Yeah. So let's get started with some just general brand updates. Yeah. So finally, by the time that this episode has been published, the book is actually available. Oh my God, it's such real. A journey.
It's no longer pre-order. You can Amazon Prime it to yourself in 2 days. So have to put it out there that finally this whole pre-launch is over. Yeah, it's super exciting. It's been a long time in the making for us. If you get the book, be sure to go to our website. We have a page dedicated to the book. You can send us a sign up through email and let us know you've bought the book, and we will send you some book only content. And just as a sneak preview. All right. Just as a sneak preview, the type of content or enhanced content you'll get is actually product examples that kind of follow the same routines that we built out in the book. So you have examples of like how you can build up your routine, what to fine tune, why we don't have specific products in the book is because we just didn't really want to deal with the red tape, to be honest, and having to work with all of these brands. It was just going to be a lot more straightforward to be able to write the educational content the way we wanted and then come out with examples after. Right. And these are just examples. We're not endorsed by any of the brands, so this is really just our take, our opinion, and hopefully it will kind of guide you guys and help you guys along the routine building journey. Yeah, and I think the other thing we want to mention is those examples are not like law. It's not us saying that these are the best and there's nothing else that fits. They're just really good examples of what you can look for while you're shopping. So that's it for the brand update. That's it for the book. This episode is also really chunky, so we're kind of blitz through some of these typical topics. First thing is the news. In the news this week. Yeah. What do you have? So I think we have to talk about The Ordinary. I'm sure you've all heard it by now, but The Ordinary has finally been acquired by Estee Lauder. I think everyone saw that coming. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Estee Lauder was one of the earlier investors in Ordinary, so I mean, I'm pretty sure this was a logical progression anyway, so how's that? Yeah, valued at $2.2 billion. Damn. Yeah, that's some good money. Second piece of news, Augustina Bader. I'm sure you guys have heard of the mystery. I feel like it's like the La Mer 2.0, but hopefully not as hokey from what we're hearing. They just did almost like a reform or a Gen 2 of their Rich Cream. Gloria doesn't know about this, but I'm going to share her what their direction was. Their strategy is to make it all vegan. They took out so they axed their beeswax. They axe lactic acid because it's fermented milk. And
go on.
For the listeners not watching the YouTube video, Gloria made a face. And finally, they axed their lanolin.
To replace with what?
So instead, good question, they are replacing these with hyaluronic acid. Gloria's frowning. And an exotic plant oil called the London Rocket for their, I believe, anti-inflammatory.
London Rocket sounds like someone's porno name.
That is not a good name.
I'm the London Rocket.
Yeah. So, that's their Gen 2.
Okay, so first of all, for those of you listening, if you guys are a fan of the Augustina's cream, like, good on, like, I'm not trying to talk crap about
We're not
the brand.
speaking about their proprietary molecule, their peptides and whatnot. No.
Right, but just so you know, hyaluronic acid and lactic acid are not a 1-to-1 replacement. It's not a replacement at all. The two molecules function completely different ways. While they're both hydrating, lactic acid has chemical exfoliation benefits. Hyaluronic acid does not. Hyaluronic acid is a large molecular weight hydrator. Lactic acid is a small molecule. It's replacing pineapples with durian, It doesn't really go, and it doesn't seem like they are replacing, it doesn't sound like they're replacing any of their heavier occlusive products like lanolin and beeswax. So by replacing those, by taking out those occlusives, I will wager that these new creams probably not as good as those with dry skin. Yeah,
I think for me, my prediction was lanolin was really gonna get Gloria, because they do have some of their other support ingredients is like panthenol and shea butter. So like, they do still have some of those like more heavier occlusive materials, but lanolin it's actually a really, really great occlusive.
It does really well, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that we understand the vegan initiative, but as there is ways to responsibly source lanolin in a way that I think, I don't know. I just think it's such a great ingredient for skincare.
Lanolin is really great. I will say it is a complicated subject, so I can understand why people might want to avoid that ingredient altogether, but it just doesn't seem like it's been properly replaced in this scenario, and it's a difficult topic. And in fact, a little industry insider is a big subject every time we go to a trade show about ingredients is XYZ replacements. If
That's
someone
so
throws silicones under the bus, then what can we use to replace silicones? And if people want to make vegan claims, what can we use to replace ingredients like beeswax and lanolin?
Ceramides.
Cholesterol and stuff like that. And it's a big topic, and honestly, it's difficult. Some of these ingredients are gold standards in their own right for a good reason. Like Victoria mentioned, there's responsible sourcing for lanolin, but I guess it gets really complicated, right? It
does.
Just kind of like responsible palm oil industry. That symbol is a big can of worms that I shall not open here. But it's
please don't.
Yeah, it's complicated.
This is not a 4-hour podcast episode.
Maybe the next episode we can talk about sustainability and environmental issues.
You heard it from here, folks. Next episode.
It might be live, but it's a good topic, but pretty difficult to talk about.
Yeah, and also there is a small subset that are allergic to lanolin, so there's that too. But yeah, again, I think the biggest takeaway, and Gloria put it best, it is not a 1-to-1 replacement. So
apples to durian. Durian's delicious. Anyway.
Yeah, and then finally, really quick take that we have to mention is continuing our celebrity launch series. There is another launch. This one is a hair care line in Target by Priyanka Chopra.
I can see it because my roommate and I used to watch Quantico. It was our like garbage TV.
She's
like,
also
time.
so beautiful.
Yeah. In that show, 100% watch it for Priyanka Chopra's hotness.
Yeah.
So I can see why she would do a hairline, because her hair is like dense, glossy, beautiful,
healthy, strong. Yeah, for sure. And I will say I do like their stance. It's when you go to Target, you'll see they're in these kind of like, they look like they're in naked juice bottles. $6 for shampoo. 11
very
ounces.
reasonably priced.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the kind of cool thing that I like is reasonably priced. $6 for 11 ounce bottle. And just to give you some perspective, a classic Pantene bottle will go $5 for 12.6 ounces. So honestly, the discrepancy for being like a more high end brand, not that bad. Yeah.
Right. And I just want to add again that Victoria and I specialize in skincare. Hair care is an area that we don't know a lot about. Definitely check out our blog with our friend Valerie. She was kind enough to guest post for us and answer some of your hair care questions. If you want her back to do a part 2, let us know and let her know too.
Yeah, we'll try to book some time in with her. All right. So that's really quickly the news. And for today, we're spending a lot of time trying to give you an acne update.
Woo, acne!
Yeah.
Says no one ever.
Right. So I think before we get into it, we obviously have to do a quick little asterisk reminder. We are not doctors, right, Gloria? We're chemists.
That I know of.
Yeah. So we can tell you a lot about, good formulas, the ingredients, how they've performed based on their track record, data, whatnot. What we won't speak on is skin conditions, and so there is a part of this where we would say, mild to moderate, we're comfortable speaking on just because, a lot of these OTC topicals are specifically geared for those scenarios when it becomes cystic, when it becomes deep inflammatory, redness, pain, or just very severe breakouts. This is where you need the help of a derm, and we strongly believe you should be getting your information from them and not us. Please.
Right. And
please
just
don't come to us.
Before we jump into all that, there's 3 major categories of ingredients you should keep in mind.
Yeah.
So just whatever cosmetic ingredients, these are non-regulated ingredients that have tested benefits on acne but isn't like validated or FDA approved. OTC ingredients are your salicylic acid, your benzoyl peroxide, adapalene. These comes with that label that you will also find on sunscreen.
Right.
These are validated by SPA, FDA with certain percentages, so it will work. They're mild but effective. Acne treatment, mild is a very relative term here. And then last, like Victoria mentioned, it's prescription, and that is definitely the derm's realm.
Yeah. And those are things like tretinoin, you're talking about your antibiotics, you're talking about even like spironolactone, oral medication as well. They're tailored, they are potent, and that's why, it's best to, if you are on those topicals, it's best to work with your derm and not us, because they know all your medical history.
Right.
Much more important. All right, cool.
Part
right.
1.
So part
the
1.
Journey of an acne and the birth of one.
Yeah, so we're going to do a quick recap on where the acne research is in a nutshell. There's 4 reasons. One is you've got a sebaceous gland on crack that's overproducing sebum. Usually this is because there's an influx of hormones, the hormone androgens. That's why during puberty you hear about acne breakouts. That's really where all of the madness and the problems are forming. You've also got to deal with inflammation that is caused from, a very angry sebaceous gland. You've got, and then finally, the bacteria, now known as C. acnes, not P. acnes anymore.
So P. acnes, P. acnes is used to be, I think people still associate P. acnes as the acne-causing bacteria.
Yes. C. acnes is definitely relatively new.
Yeah, and this distinction comes from scientists realizing that P. acnes is a little bit too generic, so they further segment it and pull out definitely the more acne causing one, and that is your C. acnes now.
Yeah, and so I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
C stands for cutie bacteria.
Yeah.
I think it's adorable.
Yeah.
You don't think it's adorable.
Right. So, definitely want to mention that there's probably one myth, or I wouldn't say a myth, but one of the old goals with acne research was killing off these bacteria.
All of them.
Yeah.
Blast them.
I can't confirm because I was one of those people in the labs researching to treat and basically eliminate these bacteria. And I think that also goes back to, when all of us acne users out there used to just want to scrub our face off and be squeaky clean. It's the thought that, oh my God, this bacteria overgrowth, my face is really dirty. But can confirm that's actually now not the case. They're realizing that, this overgrowth of bacteria is actually more of a secondary effect that's caused by this excess sebum. It's not really the problem, it's not the main goal here. So for those of you that still feel like, your face is really, really dirty, you got to wash it off 4 times over. I'm going to tell you right now, that is so the 90s. We are moving, a lot of skincare is moving past that now. And I think that's great.
Yeah. And that really, because when you're blasting your face and trying to clear up all the bad bacteria, it doesn't differentiate between the good bacteria.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of the problem resides. And it might put you in a bad cycle where your whole microbiome balance is thrown off and you already have acneic skin, and now there's nothing to keep the inflammation cycle in check, and just goes in bad.
Bad. Yeah, no,
bad.
Absolutely right. When we talk about being really hesitant about skin microbiome research, it is really complex. It's hard to understand. Just within the cutie bacteria alone, they've I know. They've got all different types. They've classified them out. They're starting to understand which are the ones that are more problematic, where, as they eat, what happens is these bacteria, they eat the sebum, they excrete these, molecules. Sebum. Exactly. And with that, it causes the inflammation, the irritation, and therefore, just kind of making a very unhappy sebaceous gland in general and hair follicle. So what was I going to say? I did want to say, I think this is where microbiome research is really going to make a big impact, is acne first, and then we'll start getting into healthy skin and anti-aging and whatnot. Wouldn't you say, Gloria?
Yeah, and I will say that is one of the newer areas we're very excited about.
Yeah.
A lot of current products that target microbiome, I would say some of them is a little premature, or they're claiming microbiome, but I'm a little skeptical of the research.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's right to be skeptical. Some people are just running with the hot keyword without actually doing their homework.
Right. But the research behind it, especially, I would say at least the last time I did a deep dive into microbiome research, all the causation kind of factor is there, right? They're able to show stuff everyone's microbiome is unique, imbalance does this and that, and all these things seem to correlate, but the solution part is still relatively early.
Yeah, agreed. Also, definitely wanted to put out a little fun fact. There's even people looking into acne vaccines, which are I think find that really
funky.
Cool. No, funky
concept.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate these people putting in a lot of effort, a lot of capital and time, because I think that back in the day, acne was so taboo. People still feel really embarrassed, and it does have some psychological detriment, makes you a little insecure. And I think that it's kind of cool that they are realizing that, it is an important skin condition that does need, this kind of help.
Wait, so what does the vaccine target?
Yeah, so good idea. It's a good question. It doesn't eliminate your bacteria because obviously these bacteria are all good. Cutie bacteria is actually good and normal. You're right, because they're cuties. Very important. It's just acne does stem from an imbalance in the diversity and profile of your flora or the diversity of your bacteria. So what it does is it actually wants to target these cutie bacteria that are excreting these not so nice molecules that are causing inflammation and preventing
inflammatory poop.
It's more like I would think of it as like giving these cutie bacteria constipation.
Slow your roll, just hold it a few more days.
Something like that, yeah. So they're looking into ways to preventing those kinds of molecules, from preventing them secreting those kinds of molecules. And so hopefully that gives you an idea of where they're headed, where their mind's at, what they're targeting. But all very early, obviously. So anyways, another thing that actually has been researched, I wouldn't say pretty well, but pretty extensively, is how does diet factor into acne?
I feel like that's growing up. You hear a lot of hearsay on that, right? Like, oh, you can't eat chocolate. I think in Asian
chocolate
culture,
was a big one.
Yeah, I think I was always told. I didn't really have a lot of acne growing up, but
Blessed.
I always hear people say stuff like, "Oh, you can't eat fried food," you know, like greasy food leads to acne, and things like that.
Exactly. So, is there any merit to that? There's actually been people that have tried to look at that data. They do see. I will say, with any diet study, you want to kind of take it with maybe like half a grain of salt, not a full grain of salt, but half a grain of salt. Just because, these studies, they cast a very, very wide net, and the conditions are not as, I would say, as stringent looking at these subjects as like, your average skincare clinical. So for milk, they do see a correlation that, diets with higher amounts of milk and dairy does cause more acne lesions. So that's one scenario. A high glycemic load.
Actually, glycemic load seems to correlate to everything.
Yeah.
Like, it does seem very impactful on your overall health. I just had sweet potatoes this morning instead of my usual white bread and white rice, so good on me.
Yeah, so Gloria will report back after 2 weeks of eating just sweet potatoes how her skin is doing.
My skin is doing great to mental health, not so much.
Yeah, and then omega-3s, linoleic acid, things that are high in these like fatty acids, has hinted at being helpful, but I don't think there's a clear, correlation there. Also, probiotics is something that's being looked at, but it's way too early. Also, no one even knows which specific probiotics really should be in these blends. So, I would say we're just going to wait and see. And then finally, they definitely concluded that vegan, vegetarian diets, there's absolutely no correlation.
Steak is a go.
Yeah,
but I feel like these diet studies, I so appreciate the people who do them, because it's super difficult to...
Yeah.
If you think about it, how do you control... How long is the study going to be, right? Because usual topical skincare studies, 8 weeks to 12 weeks. But diet studies, how do you restrict them on other things they eat, right?
Exactly.
Like, basically all your test subjects should eat roughly the same thing, but how do you really monitor that?
Right.
How long does the study have to last? I remember I saw one, I think it was on chocolate, and they spent, I don't even know how much money they ended up spending, but it was something like 200 plus people. Like, one group eats however much chocolate a day, one group eats milk chocolate, one group eats no chocolate, and then after all that work, it came back to be like, I mean, maybe. I don't know. It didn't really amount to anything.
I mean, I think that's like the issue with diet studies. It's just like every person, there's way too many factors involved. Not just lifestyle, but your genes play a really big impact.
Right.
So again, half grain of salt, you know?
Yeah, but I will say, which is why I think like there's something with like glycemic load in your diet, because time and time again it's been done for like losing weight, like acne, even skin health, non-acne related skin health, and it's correlated like time and time again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, eat your sweet potatoes, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. All right, cool. So that hopefully gives you a very, very, very general but quick snapshot of, you know, the kind of consensus on what is a target for acne research and, you know, how that's changing from my time back in my day.
Back in your day.
Yeah.
The St. Ives Day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. St. Ives, Neutrogena.
I always feel like those the Neutrogena grapefruit scrubbies and St. Ives apricot scrub is a age revealing reference.
Also, the Neutrogena, there's a green bottle, and they have that whole line. I forget if it was with cucumber or something, but anyways, that was also kind of my classic.
That thing was so classic. I didn't have acne. I used it because
you're like everyone else is using it.
That's what the cool kids are using.
Yeah. And also, can we just talk about how bad your high school routine was? Now that like there's so much information out there now, I think about it's just. Gore and I talk about time and time again how horrific our routines were back then.
Oh my, I had no routine throughout high school. I don't even remember. I was like, my face is so dry. I never thought about using lotion. Never used sunscreen. I grew up in Georgia.
Yeah.
In sunny Georgia, I wore no lotion. I was like 8 shades darker than I am now, but also fat. But
wait, what? There's a lot to unpack.
I was a chubby, very tan kid in high school.
Yeah. I mean, same. Like, I had really bad acne, so all I did was just try to dry it out as quickly as possible because I just wanted the lesion to go away. I didn't care if it was like, you know,
like
potentially
nuke the face.
Yeah, nuke the face method. I didn't care if it was gonna scar. I just wanted the red blemish, the swelling to like be gone. But yeah. Anyway, so we're here today to tell you that you don't have to do that, and you shouldn't do that.
So let's jump into
product space.
Yep, product space.
And I think the thing with acne is know that this is really about finding your cocktail of ingredients. There is no single ingredient out there that is going to clear all your acne. If there was, then that person is probably owns a country because it's just not possible.
Just like the person that's going to discover hair growth.
Oh,
cure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Along with that guy. Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. So knowing that, we're going to talk about the different product categories and how you can think about it. And first things first is the acne wash. Oh, excuse me.
Classic.
Yeah. So acne wash. We actually, oftentimes you'll hear us say, cleansers are just to cleanse. You don't want actives in your cleanser. Yeah. But we typically say for this is actually not the case. It's actually a great step to get in some of your AHAs, BHAs without adding another layer to your routine.
Yeah, I think by far the most common acne wash uses salicylic acid. And if you have mild acne and if you're in that maintenance mode, then it's a great way to get some salicylic acid in there. You could also have AHAs like glycolic acid in here. Fun fact, salicylic acid is considered to be OTC and AHAs are not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a free-for-all and you don't really know how much glycolic acid is in your wash.
That's a great point.
Which is why I don't love AHA washes.
Okay.
Yeah, because either they use a lot and you double up with serums. Yeah, and then you over-exfoliate. Or they don't use any.
Okay.
You know, so it's hard to balance and find to figure out if it works or not.
That's a really good point, actually. And the reason why we think this is a good step is because, you know, you'll see we go through other actives and just layering those with these BHAs, AHAs, it can be a lot for the skin. But when you're treating acne, you really want to try to get the benefits of all. And this is actually a more gentle way of introducing some of these exfoliants. And because it's just a quick wash off, it's not a leave on. And so with AHAs, I would say definitely that's a great point. If you can find something with a percentage that sits especially with glycolic, anywhere between 5 and 10%, if you can find a cleanser that shares that kind of transparency, then that saves you a lot of headache. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so that's that for washes. Next thing, we first will do support topicals. So these are not your heavy hitters. These are great to have as like secondary actives too.
Yeah, these are non-OTC ingredients, so that means, especially if you're targeting acne, look for ones with transparent percentages, because with skin concerns like acne, you really need the right level.
Right. And so we would say definitely consider things like azelaic acid. Mm-hmm. You might ask, why is azelaic acid considered support and not a true active acne fighter? That's because you actually won't get the percentage you need from azelaic acid formulas out there. The data shows that 20% is really the bench for effective acne fighting benefits, but right now you'll probably only get 10%. So we consider this more as like a buffer to your other actives.
You can use it twice a day, mm-hmm. and what's really great is azelaic acid also has a lot of data on hyperpigmentation, which means when your acne is starting to slow down, you're getting to a better place, but you might have some
residual pigmentation.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's really great for maintenance and treating that pigmentation.
Yeah, and the other one that you might have heard us mention in previous episodes is sodium ascorbyl phosphate. So this is relatively new kid on the block. There's a couple I will say there's not a lot of data, but there is some data showing that it does pretty well for acneic skin types, and it's been tested at even as low as 5%. So those are actually two great ones to add in without really impacting the rest of your other acne topicals.
Yep.
All right, and then the main acne fighters.
These are your OTC ingredients.
Yeah, OTC. I think the longest historical acne fighter is benzoyl peroxide.
Your pillow bleacher.
Yeah.
Do you hate the color of your pillow? Do you want a camo look? Look no further.
Right, camo, awkward pinks. Yeah. So, I think for me, I want to mention that a lot of times when you hear BPO, you expect to get 10%, and the higher the better, but BPO is actually quite irritating as well. And I mean, there are papers out there that even at 5%, you can see skin benefits. So don't feel obligated to get the highest percentage here. Try a lower 5%, even 2.5% if you can find it. But we will say, agreed, the data behind it is definitely substantiates it as a good acne fighter.
Question.
Yeah.
So, would you say it's more fruitful if someone, say, uses a salicylic acid acne wash, they can maybe pair with a BPO topical rather than... Because I think a lot of people, they stick to the same ingredient family.
Yeah.
So then they will use a cell acid face wash and then a cell acid topical and then a cell acid cream. And it just it overloads in one direction and irritates but doesn't solve all the problems.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And agreed. Yeah, so definitely I would not stack like 5 different salicylic acids. That's not the way to eliminate acne. So definitely I agree, go with the topical BPO with the salicylic acid wash. Definitely more effective. Cast a wider net with your actives.
I don't know why this is the wider net, but it is.
Oh, God. All right. And then a new kid on the block, relatively new kid that we keep touting, Adapalene. Yeah, so Adapalene, 0.1%. I think now you'll find it in multiple brands. It's not just in Proactive. There's different. There's La Roche-Posay as well. Synthetic retinoid has been shown at 0.3%, not 0.1, to be as effective as a lower dose tretinoin without all those unwanted side effects, with the dryness and irritation. Yeah, exactly. The other cool thing is that there has been a study where they actually tested 0.1% Adapalene with 2.5% BPO and found those results to be better
Synergistic effect.
Exactly. Gloria, what is the synergistic effect?
Well, like by Victoria, it's a 1 + 1 greater than 2 type of situation. Right?
We laugh, but it's the only cheesy way we can explain this.
And I feel like recently we've been trying to, I think when we started Chemist Confessions, we spent a lot of time talking about, glycolic is a great ingredient. Vitamin C is a great ingredient. And now we're getting into when people are like leveling up their knowledge and we're talking about cocktail effects. And I can't remember the number of times just in the past month I've been like, why? Synergistic effect is 1 + 1 greater than 2.
Yeah, it's okay. So why we keep saying that is because, it's the idea of that the sum of these molecules bring out way more benefit than just these ingredients individually or stacking them, as such. Hopefully that. Another kind of, I should also mention, you might be wondering, what about retinol? Funny enough, there is not a lot of data on retinol alone fighting acne. This could be because tretinoin was the gold standard and therefore no one puts their money behind retinol.
Whatever, stop your wrinkles, cool, good enough.
Exactly. So, but there is a cool study also showing the combo of 0.2% retinol and 5% sodium ascorbyl phosphate actually showing being very helpful for fighting acne.
Yeah, and I just want to add that these two, because they're not OTC ingredients, again, definitely look for the cosmetic ingredients means they're not obligated to tell you how much they're using. So these, if you're treating acne, because this is a study that shows this is a percentage where it works, so definitely choose a product that hits that level.
Yeah. So those are generally what's available.
Sorry, one more point. We also get questions about Adapalene as an anti-ager because it's a synthetic retinoid.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah. Data is not. I think it might do something, but the reality is because it's such a known acne fighter. Same story, not a lot of money has been put behind it for other skin concerns like aging. So
totally agree.
If your main point is anti-aging, then Adapalene is probably not the right retinoid.
There's definitely hints. I think kind of the reason why when people hear like, it's a retinoid, therefore it should perform the same way. But again, if it's not validated, you can't say that. But with some of these acne clinicals they're running, they're seeing that that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is improving at a better rate. And so it hints. Maybe. But we're not going to say it. So, yeah. And yeah, so that hopefully gives you an idea of, certain actives to look for in acne. We do want to mention there's a couple steps that we think are often forgotten in an acne routine that we want to really emphasize.
Do it.
Yeah, exactly. Want you to put it back into your routine. So first things first, Gloria, what do people forget about?
Soothe. I just... But yes, people tend to forget that inflammation is the root of
empty.
My cup
I think her cup is empty.
Full tend to forget. So I think this is totally a hyperbole, but inflammation is a root of all skin evils. But truthfully,
I don't think it's that much of a hyperbole, actually.
Yeah, inflammation is very present. I think the problem that I have with it is, while I think everyone acknowledges that inflammation, irritation is a big concern that leads to a cascade of unwanted anything, right? Like acne, fine lines and wrinkles and whatnot, and compromised skin barrier. But the problem that at least I definitely have with inflammation is everything is claimed as a soother. Everything is anti-inflammaging, So
this is going down a very dark rabbit hole. But the reason why it's problematic, tinfoil hat, is because, it's not even tinfoil.
I keep forgetting you built a tinfoil hat.
I know, we need ours. But It's because the FDA does not allow the kind of verbiage as anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
And therefore, there's no reason to test as an anti-inflammatory.
So brands have to do a little like dance around the term anti-inflammation.
And the swoop.
It's so soothing. It calms your soul. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you ever wonder why you don't hear about it as an anti-inflammatory but read about it separately as an anti-inflammatory, that's why.
It's a good point, and that kind of makes our jobs a little harder because we want to preach. I think a long time ago I attempted and did put together an article on botanicals with actual proven benefit.
Can confirm.
It was the most terrible dark rabbit hole I had to go down because the data is sparse and it's all over the place. And it's not what people think works.
Exactly.
So anyway, rant over. It's a difficult category to talk about, but it's incredibly important for anyone, not just people with acne skin, to have a potent soothing active in your skincare.
Yeah, and so we'll just run through a couple anti-inflammatory soothing ingredients that we like. Colloidal oatmeal, allantoin. Panthenol is wonderful. Actually, linoleic acid. It has been, is kind of a touted specifically for acne, but just really good skin soother all around. And then,
quick aside. I think linoleic acid and linoleic acid, I think there are some studies that people try to paint an angle of, people who are prone to acne actually lack these components. Yes. So there's a theory that by using it topically, that's kind of how it works. That's not proven at all, even though there's a few studies that kind of point into that direction. But even without this type of theory, linoleic acid is great all around.
Pure, not like rosehip seed oil, linoleic rich oil.
But I love the rosehip oil.
yeah, that's not how that works. So, and then you guys might hear witch hazel is a very
really popular in acne products.
Yeah, to the point that a whole witch hazel line got acquired just because L'Oreal, we would know this.
They have deep pockets, man. You can buy stupid things.
But yeah, so I mean, I would say witch hazel is probably one of the ones that I feel like lacks a lot of data as being a skin soother, but can, based on the molecules in a witch hazel, although very dependent on the ingredient sourcing, can be helpful as well.
I think witch hazel to me is one of those that it doesn't hurt, but
don't expect miracles.
Yeah, exactly, because it's got a long history. It's got great anecdotal evidence. This evidence is a strong word, but it's got a long history of use. So if nothing else, it's safe. It's vanilla, and if you use it and you feel like it works for you, great. By all means, keep going. But if you're new to the witch hazel world, let's just say if you go to Google Scholar and search for it, 99% of the references will basically say, people have a history of using it. We don't know what it does, but it's there.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing as sulfur.
Yeah.
Anyways, but bottom line.
Actually, sorry, I need to ask your opinion about sulfur, because I think sulfur tried to have a revival a few years ago, and I just feel like it's a very antiquated type of formula, but I don't use a lot of acne treatments, so I don't really know, so I want to hear your take on sulfur.
If I would use it?
Yeah, do you like
it?
Oh, okay. The end. That was fun.
No, I don't think there's a lot of validity, and also sulfur formulas, let's just say sourcing sulfur isn't very fun. Also, it stinks. And so I don't think, I know the Mario Badescu is probably the most famous for the sulfur bottle. I would say if that is currently in your acne routine and you're happy about it, don't listen to me. Yeah, you can turn this off. But if you are feeling like the trendy train is very strong, the results seem good, I wouldn't say it's the most necessary topical to have in your routine, especially over these other ingredients that we went through. The second thing that is also very underrated is a moisturizer. I know it sounds really strange, but I think that for people who have acne, they don't like to put a lot of things on their face.
Or anything, right?
Yeah, unless it's the treatment. I know it feels like putting moisturizer may cause acne.
My fiance is acne prone. I have to chase after him with Mr. Reliable because he's like, I can see like flakes on his skin. He's so dry and he's getting ashy, but he's like, no, not moisturizer, not acne.
Yeah. And for guys too, the generally skewed oily skin, they don't like to be shiny. So all of you totally get the fear.
I was gonna say they don't like to be chased after with a moisturizer.
I don't either.
But it's good for him.
Yeah, so it's actually really important. It's important to make sure skin stays healthy, stays balanced and moisturized, because unhappy skin only further aggravates. Did I say aggregates?
Aggravates.
Dry skin.
Quick aside, I still remember that one review that we got that said, these girls don't enunciate. I know, I'm sorry, I'm trying.
Practice. But yeah, so dry skin, irritated skin only aggravates your acne situation. So if you can, find a simple, light moisturizer just to make sure skin stays healthy.
Question.
Yes.
How do you personally feel about silicone-based like moisturizer?
Oh, I do like them. Mm-hmm. I think that I know there's a fear that silicones trap bacteria similar to petrolatum, but I actually think that in terms of I would consider that clean. Mm-hmm. Hot take. People are freaking out because they think that that's not it. But I would say that, these silicones are light in texture. Mm-hmm. They make the formula lighter. They can even mattify. So all of these properties make it more, derms like to call it patient compliant. So the user will be more inclined to use moisturizer. And I think that that's why it's good. And it's hydrating. So
yeah, and I think I've read stories of people who swear by going silicone free. If that's your experience, then yeah, by all means listen to your skin. But if you're new to skincare, or even if you just read a blog post about the evils of dimethicone or something, but then you go through your skincare routine and you realize you have dimethicone already in your skincare, that there's a high chance it's everywhere. Don't freak out. You don't need to switch and run to the nearest store and start all over the hunt all over again. It is an incredibly vanilla ingredient that's very helpful.
I have a tinfoil hat theory. All right, tinfoil hat theory is that silicone formulas, the reason why they got the bad rap they did was because people made such crappy silicone formulas.
Actually, it's true. So I will never forget the first day I went into lab in my internship, and obviously I kind of I've used silicone containing products, but the first time I felt like silicone meat on my hand, I was like, oh, it's a very signature texture to it.
Very slippery.
And doesn't stop slipping.
And also it doesn't really wash off very well. But I would say that back in the day, I don't think the average silicone emulsion was that good. I think that people just were very impressed with, silicone texture, very different.
You're like, you like silicone? Let me add 30% more to it.
Yeah, and they expected that to be considered like very elegant, elegant, luxurious. But I think that there's a very fine line in how, in silicone textures, but I will say it's getting better. I think. And now there are so many silicone alternatives where they use like very dry esters. And I think that, it's less of a worry to me personally with if you do find a silicone in your formula.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Because I think for me, I definitely have this. Like if you add, there's an ingredient out there called polysilicon 11. It's like it's a more gummy form, not gummy, but it's a thicker form of it's a paste, a silicone paste. If you add just a little bit to your cream, it feels great. But then there are formulas that use so much of it. I swear to God, I've tried like formulas in the store. I'm like, polysilicon 11, stop.
Yeah, and I think if you're kind of curious like what that texture feels like, think of like old makeup primer.
Yes.
Right? I feel like that is the best example of that texture.
The original, I think, Makeup Forever primer texture. It's just polysilicone, love it.
Yeah, so, that's a really great point. Silicones have always been a highly contested ingredient in the acne space. So, and then I think the other thing is now acne patches, those zit stickers, things like that are very popular.
Say that again. Zit sticker.
That's how it says, right? Or is it zit sticker?
No, it's sticker. You say it so nonchalant. It's like sticker.
Now I can't say that with a straight face. God damn it. These hydrocolloidal band-aids. Yeah. You might be wondering, are those miracle workers? They do help speed up the healing time, but don't expect them to like fade overnight.
Right.
Also, you might be wondering if those with microneedle patches are better. I will be honest, we are not convinced yet. I think that hydrocolloidal bandage, great. Don't stress too much if you're thinking about like the microneedle patch aspect.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few studies that has really great results from microneedle patches, but those needle length and the type that they synthesize for these studies are not quite what you'll find in products out there.
Yeah, they just simply can't be because of the FDA.
Nothing's touching your dermis, don't worry.
Yeah, so, and also I will say those stickers help with people who like to pick, which is me.
Sticker!
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One note about acne scarring. For those who see residual footprints, the darker spots, after the acne lesion has like basically flattened out, know that that's hyperpigmentation. That's not actual scarring yet, so don't freak out too early. And we would say, think about it as like treating pigmentation. And then the other thing is skin topography, right? If you've noticed that skin topography has changed, the surface of your skin is uneven, this is where that would be considered scarring, and you will need an office.
Yeah, I will say scarring is definitely a topic that even in academia space, if you look at topical treatments of scarring, most of it only basically prevents it from getting worse. And then it does like lighten the pigmentation. But in terms of actual topography, definitely go to an office. You just won't get that result from topicals.
Yeah, good point. And last but not least, there are some other ingredients that you're wondering help or don't help. So first things first, toothpaste.
Most prevalent and long-living myth, right? Because I feel like my niece is talking about toothpaste, and then I'm like, well, it's been 20 years, we're still on toothpaste.
Yeah, I think, and people are I think there are certain articles you'll find where it's like, not the gel kind, but the baking soda kind, the Arm & Hammer kind. Yeah, so, it's about as helpful as a clay mask, and not saying clay masks aren't helpful, but it's not a miracle worker.
Yeah.
It just really just dries out the skin.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to add that, so this is super annoying, but I didn't really grow up with acne, but once in a while when you're stressed, you like pop a really big angry one, and because I don't grow up dealing with it, I had no idea what to do back in college. So now I'll freak out and I'll look for these cures. I'm like, okay, toothpaste, and then I have definitely also like ground up like aspirin, be like,
oh, you've done that one. Yeah.
No,
aspirin's
jack shit for me.
Salicylic acid, man. Come on, guys.
Yeah, that was like $5, but like college music, like, what? I have aspirin?
Yeah.
That's free?
No, I forgot about that one. That was a good one. Ice cubes. So for inflammatory, for inflamed acne, that's not a bad idea for, again, remember the soothing aspect, but is it going to erase the acne completely? No, obviously not, but it's like more like, oh, don't be so angry.
They're there. But I will say, temperature is surprisingly relevant in skincare in a scientific way.
Yes.
I think it's just something that sounds generally hokey, right?
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, put your face in the fridge, you'll feel better.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. Aloe. Okay. So there are a couple studies that hint at fresh aloe. There's mucin. There's a type of polymer in it that does seem to help with wound healing. Maybe. So, and that's about it.
You're the worst snake oil salesman ever. I had this other plant. It might help. Maybe.
So what I'm trying to say is, if you had nothing else in the world, I'd rather have a fresh aloe leaf gel than just aloe gel that usually is just 99.95% water. Yeah.
I will say, growing up, my mom used to have a big aloe plant. And I used to really like cutting it off and just squeezing some aloe plant. It's like, it's really fun, right? And then the plant died. But anyway, if you have a healthy, robust aloe plant, does not hurt at all.
Yeah. And then clay mask. So actually, clay mask is one of our pro tips we like to recommend. Gloria, can you tell us why?
No. So clay mask serves one main purpose, which is to dry out your skin. I will say a lot of claims about it in removing impurities is a little overstated, but it does effectively dry out your skin. And what that does is it helps everything that comes after it penetrate a little bit better, especially your acids, your salicylic acid, your glycolic acid, because they call it degreasing almost, because your skin has sebum, and if you're oily, acne prone, you have more sebum, and that amount of sebum prevents especially water soluble ingredients like glycolic acid from penetrating. So by degreasing it, it just helps everything soak. Yeah. So that's what clay mask does. It itself can help you clean skin on a deeper level, but that's about it.
I just wanted to say the pro tip about with that plus the acids, because that's really the takeaway.
Pro tip!
Yeah. So pro tip is, yeah, exactly. So it's it's a great first step for, the acne washes, but I would recommend, obviously, don't overdo it. You don't need to do this every day. Maybe once a week.
Yeah, such a good point.
Yeah, maybe just once a week, twice a week.
So we have a product called the Specialist. It has 18% mandelic, 5% niacinamide, and 2% salicylic acid. And we position it as a multi-purpose product. And one of the ways to use it is use as a spot treat, but obviously only for more serious situations and not every day. But we have people who use it every day, and then they're like, my skin's very dry now. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, but don't use it every day.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we made it multi-purpose is so that they don't have to spot treat. They're not locked into one mode of use every day.
Yeah.
You can dilute, add a drop to your serum, and it'll be more upkeep, But I think people forget that, once skin's in a good place, it's okay to dial back down.
Yeah, and I want to say acne, I totally, even as someone who doesn't get a lot, I understand that desire to, like, when they pop up, just nip it in the bud, like, get that out of here, and you want results tomorrow. You still need a certain level of patience. A lot of these topicals will speed up recovery, prevent further acne from developing. But if you're nuking it and hoping it'll be gone tomorrow, it's just going to be damaging in the long term.
Speaking of, Gloria,
yes?
Do you pop your pimples?
Oh, I don't, but I pop my boyfriend's pimples. Fiance, boyfriend.
That's not what I want to know.
That's not what anyone wants to know. I don't pop my pimples.
No one ever, anyone listening is like, I did not sign up for this.
He has back pimples. So.
No. Yeah, okay. That's actually very good self-control. But yeah, I would say I have to admit, there are certain days I am a popper, because there ain't no way in hell I'm going to some dinner with a giant white head on my forehead. I'm sorry, I can't do it. It literally feels like a beam shining through. Yeah, exactly. So for those of you who feel like, oh, is that bad or good? It is bad. It is not good, and we should not do it. Also, your hands are very dirty. But
at the very least, wash your hands before you do it.
We said this was a human conversation too. So that's that. And finally, that is the meat of acne.
This meat is overcooked.
So overcooked. Oh my God. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful. It gives you an idea of how to think of acne topicals when you're out there shopping. In terms of layering, oh God, I said I was done. But in terms of layering, for the most part, you are okay. Even with BPO and tretinoin, I believe the standard method is to keep them separate, 1 day, 1 night. But now tretinoin formulations are getting a lot better where they're not seeing that same degradation. But again, this is something you need to also double check with your derm. So that's it. And now we're definitely done.
We're done with the meat. No more meat. We have the meat.
Yeah.
Oh, so close.
And so now it's time to break it up. Do you want my drink?
I'm gonna take a sip.
All right. So Animal Corner. Fun fact of the day.
Oh, whoa. Wow. This Irish coffee is getting stronger.
Doing well. So Animal Corner, it is a selfish topic where we like to share fun facts about animals to each other. And it's really not about you, it's about us. So,
but thank you for sticking around this long.
Yeah. So today's Animal Corner is about the bowerbirds.
Hit me. Today's all Victoria. So
yeah. So there are about 20 different types of bowerbirds out there.
Bowerbirds?
Yeah, I can't say that word. Bowerbirds, and they can be as big as 14 inches tall. They are native to New Guinea and Australia. Mm-hmm. You might have saw them on planet Earth, but in some ways it is a great video, but it does not do it justice. They are actually known for one of the most complex courting rituals in birds.
I love weird mating rituals. They're hilarious.
Yeah, so the reason why they're called bowerbirds is because they build bowers, which are little like shelters made out of sticks. And what they do is the males, they build this little stick hut to invite the female, make it really appealing to the female to come and hang out in their little theater while they give them a performance. And so birds spend up to 2 weeks building this bower. Mm-hmm. They find really bright objects like fruit and berries and flowers and feathers to like decorate. So the males have to do a little bit of interior decorating to lure the female.
Hey girl, look at my West Elm inspired bower.
Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes what's really shady is males will jack things from other bowers to help their bowers look better. Mm-hmm. But it's actually not over. So once they can lure the nice female to his bower, he'll actually have to do kind of like a dance where they puff up their feathers, they move around in kind of a weird way. You'll even see on planet Earth, they can like dilate their eyeballs.
Oh yeah, that's a classic planet Earth video.
To make it very like alluring. And, the funny thing is, when you're a young bowerbird male, you actually have to learn from failure. So they will actually, their kind of courtship dance evolves as they fail and succeed.
Wait. So let me get this straight. There are people sitting there watching me. Oh, yeah, she's enticed. Oh, no, she did not like that taking notes.
Yeah. Well, no, there's no, I mean, usually it's, they have to keep it separate so as not the female doesn't get distracted by the others. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes what happens is there'll be one male that's very successful in his courtship display, mm-hmm. and then there will be a lot of males that don't succeed at all. Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I think the other really fascinating thing is that they have learned like optical illusions. So they will place objects from smallest to largest to make themselves appear larger in stature and kind of give them this like focused peripheral.
Take note, GQ.
Yeah. So they're that, like, talk about really complex display.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing is, kind of like a fun fact, is that they are actually superb vocal mimics. Mm-hmm. So they can mimic a pig. The sound of water, like really,
that's so cute.
Yeah, really, really random. But anyway, so that's the bowerbird. May that be a lesson for all of you single folks out there about to enter the word once we're COVID free.
Optical illusion is where it's at.
That's a takeaway. Bright, shiny objects.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways.
That's it.
Yay. Animal fun fact corner.
Okay. Last but not least.
Gloria's hanging there by a thread.
It's a long episode.
It is a very long episode. Acne is dense. Yep. I don't even think we did it justice, but at least you got a snapshot.
Could be acne part 2 later on, but
no.
Or not. Okay.
Just kidding.
Q&A.
All right.
So we have a few questions that's outstanding in the blog. Question 1. Are combining actives like a pro? She asked, what about Matrixyl 3000 with common actives like vitamin C and retinol?
Yeah, really great point. Luckily, we have our friend Sederma confirm that it likes a general pH of anywhere between
3 and 9.
3 and 9. So, no real worries. Actually, we would recommend this as a really good active to layer in with most. The only thing is sometimes when peptides are too high and you got a very high active like a lot of retinol, you might find your skin to be a little more drying. But that's like the most that will happen.
Yeah, so great combination overall. Like any actives, be aware of irritation.
Yeah. Question number 2. Interested in your opinion on the Ordinary's ascorbic acid 8% plus alpha-arbutin 2%. It's anhydrous and non-gritty since it's suspended in propane diol, but I wonder about its stability and efficacy.
Great question. Propane diol is an okay carrier. For me, my main concern is any sort of diol glycol. Its secondary benefit is it can enhance penetration. So when it's at a really, really, really high level, like these type of formulas, it could be irritating. But assuming you're not irritated by this high levels of propane diol, ascorbic acid and arbutin is a good combination for hyperpigmentation. I just want to point out that propane diol itself is water soluble. It attracts water. So if you live somewhere humid, you might still see the color turn over time. So it's even though it's anhydrous, the vitamin C shelf life is still it's still not a fail-proof way of having vitamin C. So just keep an eye out on color change.
And also definitely layer with a better moisturizer on top.
Yes, propane diol doesn't do. I mean, it's water-based, so yeah, moisturize.
All right, final question. Question number 3 about Bior Bright Milk. Is it okay to use even though one of the ingredients is alcohol?
Yeah, we got this in our DM, and I put it on the podcast because it's a common question that we get all the time. Alcohol or denatured alcohol is sometimes listed as SD alcohol 40. Is a very common ingredient that you will hear if you get into the skin science space. You'll hear a lot of people say, "It's
evil!
right! Don't
It's
do
the devil! It's evil!"
Yeah, it's not quite. It's there for a reason. Chemists like us aren't sitting in a lab like,
today we drying out some skin, folks.
And so,
sorry.
Not how it works. It's there usually as a texture enhancer. It can help active ingredients penetrate better. It can also
refreshing.
It's refreshing and help preserve your formula. So it's not inherently bad. That said, it is drying, so it depends on how much of it is in a formula. Most 99%, that number I yanked out my ass, don't quote me on it, but most formulas out there will have less than 5% alcohol, which is a totally normal, acceptable level for most skin types.
Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with layering a moisturizer over to prevent that dryness. Your skin will tell you. It's not that you use it over time and suddenly you're like, oh no, I've been drying out my skin this whole time. That's not how that works. And just know that those formulas are going to be ultra light and fresh. So yeah. That's it. We finally did it. We made it through.
Oh my gosh, episode.
Gloria's gonna cry.
Oh that's a good one. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Oh my god.
Right?
Yeah. But anyways, all in all, hope that was helpful for you guys. We're gonna wrap this up as quickly as we can. If you have any questions about acne, your routine, or need some derm, recommendations, definitely find us. We will try to help you. just acne sucks, so we get it.
Check out the book.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.